When I was growing up in India, as a preteen, so there was a camera in the family. I was very curious about it because I was actually very interested in my only entertainment. My culture was going to the cinema, and I wasn't taken to art galleries or anything. So the only visual culture was cinema. And so the next best thing was to pick up a camera. During the 60s, halfway through, my parents began to have this long discussion that they might want to go to Canada. So he went first. I went 2 years later, and my mum followed shortly after. At the point of departure from India, I had already developed and exercised a huge interest in sex and sexuality. So Friends and Lovers is old pictures. They're the oldest because I was taking them in Montreal. They're the family snaps and things. But it got created as a project, as an exhibition project very recently, just in 2018. I met somebody there. He went to New York to intern at a bank, and I followed him. And then suddenly I found myself in this amazing city in 1976, which was full of the two things that were of interest. One was that there were gay men everywhere in a very public way. I'd never seen that. And there was a lot of photography. So I, in fact, did then follow the same person. His job led him to a bigger, more permanent job in London. So that's how I came here. I was following this guy around. So when I came to London, it was 78, and it was all trouble and strife suddenly. So suddenly my ethnicity was a problem. It was the days of Paki bashing and all of that business. I encountered in the colleges a different kind of racism, but one of kind of absence, like they didn't teach you anything. There was no non-European history taught. So the whole history of photography that I was taught was completely European and modernist in outlook. I broke up with the guy that I'd followed everywhere. So I made it my business to follow up gay couples. I think for a while I thought there was something I didn't know. What did I miss? Like, what do they know? How come they're so successful in mine, like a disaster? So the portraits were an excuse to get to something else. Once I met the GLC, I suddenly found these issues around race and migration that were creeping up from being in London at that time. Kind of a set of people who seemed more sympathetic to that, and I got very involved with party politics, understanding local politics and how culture works with them and how cultural policy works with them. And it basically led me to this whole other world of photography that took place in workshops. By 86, I really had to think twice about taking a straight documentary picture. When I made Exiles in India, which was about gay men in India, I started by taking one documentary picture, but it just seemed so unethical. So my compromise was to become very theatrical about it, and we would set up these pictures to look like documentary pictures. My experience in the 80s was I became part of Black Arts in the UK. So I was quite kind of black, identified politically in a post-colonial way. In the 90s, I became HIV positive. So I got a commission from Autograph in 1999 to make a body of work, which I finally called From Here to Eternity, and it was about my HIV condition at the time. And it's actually incidentally become the title of this retrospective. In the 2000s, I went back to live in Delhi, and I thought I'll revisit Exiles, the project. And Mr. Malhotra's Party, the title, it came from a nightclub that I used to visit. And this time, I didn't have to reconstruct anything because everybody is out now. And this time there's women as well as men. So it's very exciting for me. It's the first time since 1986 that I've exhibited at the Photographers Gallery. I had really a fantastic time making the pictures. I've done pretty much what I wanted for 40 years, which is, I know it's a great luxury. And, and that I feel like if you can afford to do what you really want to do, in the end, it's much more worthwhile.